All right, good morning. All this meeting is called to order. Mr. Truman, has anyone signed up for public comment? All right.
Good morning.
Well, good morning to you too. No cases to reconsider under agenda item 3. Is that correct?
Correct. No cases.
All right, under agenda item 4 on tax liability cases, we have one case on docket 49 and one case on docket 50.
And good morning. For the record, Hugh Daniel, Special Program Appeals. That's correct, Chairman Daniel. There's one tax liability case on docket 49 and one tax liability case on docket 50. For docket 49, the case number is TD-24-049-0924. Commissioner Esparza?
I agree with the recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino?
I agree with staff's recommendation.
And Chairman Daniel?
Agree with staff recommendation.
Thank you. For docket 50, the case number is TD-24-043-0824. Commissioner Esparza?
I agree with the recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino?
I agree with staff's recommendation.
And Chairman Daniel?
Agree with staff recommendation.
All right, thank you. That concludes tax liability cases on this docket.
Thank you. We have no fair housing cases on agenda item 5, no child labor cases on agenda item 6. Under agenda item 7, we have no wage claim cases on either docket 49 or 50 pulled for additional discussion.
That's correct. None pulled for additional discussion, but you should have received the wage claim short form dissent lists for both dockets 49 and 50.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on dockets 49 and 50.
I second the motion except for those cases which I am dissenting as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 49 and 50.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected in wage claim short form dissent lists for docket 49 and 50.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. We'll move to agenda item 8, in consideration of unemployment insurance cases. Please proceed when you're ready.
Case number 3088073, Commissioner Esparza.
In this case involving a late reopening request under Rule 16, a late appeal to the appeal tribunal, a late protest, a chargeback ruling. The fact situation is essentially the same as in appeal number 3083078 on docket 48. The employer has credibly and consistently maintained that its ability to deal in a timely manner with the chargeback notice and subsequent decision was greatly hampered by confusion over TWC information during the pandemic, conflicting advice from TWC local and state offices, U.S. Postal Service, and Texas Workforce Commission office closures, shutdown orders, and mail delivery problems. Accordingly, we should hold the employer's Rule 16 reopening request timely, find the employer's appeal from the initial determination timely, find the employer's response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback timely, and have the case resubmitted on chargeback issue.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The AT1 decision was mailed to the employer's address of record and received in a timely manner. And the employer offered no arguments as to why they filed a late petition to reopen at the time, other than generally stating that the pandemic caused understaffing. This argument is not persuasive, given that the AT decision was mailed to the employer in 2022. There is no good cause exception to the timeliness rules. Therefore, the petition to reopen should be dismissed as late. Affirm the AT, late petition to reopen, late protest to notice of maximum potential chargeback, employer's account remains charged.
Timely petition to reopen, employer establish good cause for AT1 resubmit.
One moment, please. Just to clarify, this is case number 3088073 on docket 49. This particular case does not have a late AT issue. It's the next one that has the late AT issue. So what needs a vote is late petition to reopen. If that's timely, then good cause to reopen, and then proceeding directly to late response.
I'll go with the chairman's vote on good cause.
All right. So you're telling me there's no AT1 is what you're telling me.
Correct.
So my vote then would be a timely petition to reopen.
Right.
There's good cause to reopen. I'd like for it resubmitted on merits.
Okay, and just to clarify, timely response
Yes.
and resubmit.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And you concur with the chairman?
I do.
Thank you. And do you have a dissent?
It's going to be resubmitted though, correct?
You're right.
Okay,
No reason to dissent on a resubmit.
okay. Thank you.
All right, moving to the next case, please.
Case number 3547913, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. Although the claimant's appeal was received after the appeal deadline, the claimant provided credible testimony that he went to a local TWC office and attempted to submit a timely appeal by fax. Since the claimant visited the TWC office to file his appeal, staff should have ensured that his appeal was submitted correctly. Therefore, the claimant's appeal should be deemed timely and the case remanded to the AT to obtain testimony on the merits. Modify the AT, timely claimant appeal, remand. In the alternative, I could agree to rehear the case in order to question the claimant regarding the date that he went to the TWC office and whether he was aided by a TWC representative in filing his earlier appeal.
The AT decision should be affirmed. Claimant filed his appeal beyond the applicable deadline. There are no good cause exceptions to the timeliness rules. While the claimant contends he filed his appeal within the appropriate time frame, did not provide testimony of a disinterested witness, nor physical evidence to corroborate his claim. As such, the claimant's appeal must be dismissed as late. Accordingly, we should affirm the AT decision. Ultimately, claimant appeal, misconduct, untimely claimant appeal, misconduct, no chargeback.
Rehear to ask the claimant when he attempted to file his appeal at his local TWC office.
We will rehear the case.
Case number 3632751, Commissioner Esparza.
We should affirm the AT decision. The claimant was discharged after an altercation with a coworker during which she admitted to name calling. Witness statements and video of the final incident indicate that the claimant made threatening and racially harassing comments and behaved aggressively toward the coworker. Thus, the claimant violated the employer's zero tolerance policy and was discharged for misconduct connected with work. So affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback. In the alternative, we could rehear this case to obtain testimony for the employer's firsthand witness and review the video of the final incident. That would be a rehear.
The decision is not supportable. The employer discharged the claimant after she was involved in a verbal altercation with the coworker. The employer only provided secondhand evidence of the altercation, while the claimant denied under oath that she threatened her coworker or initiated any verbal abuse. The claimant testified that she only responded similarly to the coworker's insults. Additionally, while the employer contends that the claimant violated a zero tolerance policy prohibiting any verbal abuse, the employer did not equally enforce this policy, as the coworker was not discharged for her role in the altercation. Therefore, the employer did not meet its burden of establishing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case.
Case number 3637965, Commissioner Esparza.
We should reverse the AT decision. The claimant worked for the employer school district as a substitute teacher. Although the claimant was offered continued work through the end of the employer's school year, the claimant refused to accept the available assignments and thereafter filed her claim for benefits. Thus, the claimant initiated the job separation. Because the claimant refused to accept further work assignments when continued work was available, the claimant's separation constituted a voluntary quit without work-connected good cause. As such, we should reverse the AT decision, reimbursing employer not billed.
The corrected AT decision is supportable. The claimant worked as a part-time substitute teacher and accepted assignments from the employer on an as-needed basis. The claimant did not know at the end of each assignment when or if further work would be offered to her. Therefore, the claimant was involuntarily separated from the employment at the end of each substitute teaching assignment. Since the claimant's work separation was not for a disqualifying reason, the employer's account should be billed. Affirm the AT, bill reimbursing employer.
Reimbursing employer not billed.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3638357, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant was on file and warned with the employer. Although the claimant was aware that her job was in jeopardy on the day after her warning, when questioned by a manager about the status of a work report, the claimant became agitated and advised her manager that she was leaving due to personal reasons unrelated to work. When the employer informed the claimant that her actions were causing a disruption, the claimant became argumentative, gathered her personal belongings to leave, and became insubordinate. Since the claimant was aware that her job was in jeopardy, the claimant's continued showing of insubordinate behavior constituted work-connected misconduct. As such, we should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The decision is correct. While the employer discharged the claimant for excessive absenteeism after leaving work early, the claimant provided credible firsthand testimony that she merely asked for permission to leave early and did not leave the building until after she was discharged. The employer has not provided sufficient evidence to prove that the claimant left prior to being discharged. Therefore, the employer has failed to meet its burden of proving that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir. And that was the last UI case pulled for additional discussion on docket 49. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 49.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 49.
I second the motion except for those cases which I am dissenting, as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 49.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected in UI short form dissent list for docket 49.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you. Continuing to docket 50.
Case number 3089417, Commissioner Esparza.
In this case involving a late reopening request under Rule 16, a late appeal to the appeal tribunal, a late protest, and a chargeback ruling, the fact situation is essentially the same as in appeal number 308-3078 on docket 48. The employer has credibly and consistently maintained that its ability to deal in a timely manner with the chargeback notice and subsequent decisions was greatly hampered by confusion over TWC information during the pandemic, conflicting evidence from TWC local and state offices, U.S. Postal Service, and Texas Workforce Commission office closures, shutdown orders, and mail delivery problems. Accordingly, we should hold the employer's Rule 16 reopening request timely, find the employer's appeal from the initial determination timely, find the employer's response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback timely, have the rate case resubmitted on the chargeback issue.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The AT1 decision was mailed to the employer's address of record, and the employer offered no arguments as to why they filed a late petition to reopen at that time. The employer only testified about a multi-year interruption to their business operations caused by the pandemic. There is no good cause exception to the timeliness rules. Therefore, the petition to reopen should be dismissed as late. Affirm the AT, late petition to reopen, late employer appeal, late protest to the notice of a maximum potential chargeback. Employer's account remains charged.
I concur with Commissioner Esparza.
All right, I need one clarification. Because the Rule 16 petition to reopen has been deemed timely, we need also a vote on good cause for missing the prior hearing. Yeah, when it's dismissed, it doesn't matter whether they have good cause, but if you grant it, they still have to establish good cause.
But I agree, the employer had good cause.
Yes, sir.
Still concur with Commissioner Esparza.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Trevino?
Stand by a minute.
This is another resubmit, sir.
Resubmit, right? Okay.
I apologize.
That's okay. Thank you.
Ms. Miller's being aggressive today.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Case number 3098229, Commissioner Esparza.
The case is essentially identical to appeal 308-9417 on this docket and the fact situation in appeal number 308-3078 on docket 48. Just as in the companion case, appeal number 308-9417, My vote is to hold the employer's Rule 16 reopen request timely, find the employer's appeal from the initial determination timely, find the employer's response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback timely, have the case resubmitted on the chargeback issue.
As in the previous companion case just discussed, the AT decision should be affirmed. The employer only offered arguments about the multi-year interruption to their business operations caused by the pandemic, and that they were under the impression that the chargebacks would be removed, regardless of when they appealed. There is no good cause exception to the timeliness rules. Therefore, the petition to reopen should be dismissed as late. Affirm the AT, late petition to reopen, late employer appeal, late protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback. Employer's account remains charged.
I concur with Commissioner Sparsa.
And one clarification.
Good cause. The employer had good cause.
Yes, sir.
And I still concur with Commissioner Sparsa.
Thank you. And
And
we're
I'm still good.
resubmitting.
Yes.
Case number 3375258, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is supportable. While the claimant reported less earnings than what the employer reported for the periods in question, it is not clear that the earnings reported by the employer accurately reflected the claimant's real earnings. Additionally, the claimant was only working sporadically after the pandemic shut down, and most of her earnings were from tips. Furthermore, she testified that she filed her claim over the phone with the help of a TWC representative, and that she reported her earnings to the best of her ability. Therefore, while the earnings adjustment might be appropriate, the claimant was not solely at fault for the overpayment, and the decision to grant the waiver of the overpayment should be affirmed. Affirm the AT, overpayment, grant waiver. In the alternative, I could agree to rehear this case in order to obtain further testimony and evidence regarding the overpayment, including inviting the employer to the hearing to either confirm or explain the earnings they reported, as it appears that some of the earnings reported might have involved some sort of pandemic payments not attributed to the actual work performed by the claimant.
The AT decision is not supportable. Waiver of an FPUC overpayment can be granted if the claimant was not at fault in its creation. The evidence shows that the claimant caused the overpayment by incorrectly reporting her earnings while filing for UI benefits. Accordingly, we should modify the AT decision overpayment of $2,400. Claimant is ineligible for a waiver of the overpayment.
Overpayment waiver denied.
Short form dissent now.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3478041, Commissioner Sparsa.
The AT decision should be modified. The commission previously held that the employer filed a timely CA appeal concerning good cause for missing the AT2 hearing. The claimant provided contradictory information for missing the hearing. Although the rehearing was held to clarify the details of the claimant's alleged emergency at the time of AT2, the claimant did not provide the requested evidence and provided alternate reasons for missing the hearing. As such, the claimant did not establish good cause. Next, I don't contest the claimant established good cause for missing the AT1 hearing. Concerning the job separation, the claimant's employment was terminated due to repeat performance issues. These include her failure to submit daily reports, refusal to appraise the employer of her whereabouts, an overall bad attitude at the workplace. As such, the claimant's action arose to work-connected misconduct. Modify the AT decision, deem the employer's CA appeal timely. The claimant did not establish good cause for missing AT2 hearing. The claimant established good cause for missing the AT1 hearing. Misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response. In the alternative, we'll agree that the claimant established good cause for missing AT2 and AT1 hearings and have the case resubmitted for merits testimony. Deem the employer's CA appeal timely. The claimant established good cause for missing the AT2 hearing and AT1 hearing. Resubmit for merits testimony in the alternative.
The decision should be modified. The commission previously voted to deem the employer's appeal timely. While it could be concluded that the claimant did not establish good cause for missing AT2, the evidence suggested that the claimant had good cause to reopen AT1, as she missed the hearing due to working a new job on the day of the hearing. And the claimant's petition to reopen also constituted appeals to the commission based on the merits of the first AT decision. The evidence available at the time of the AT1 indicates that the employers discharged the claimant for not meeting their performance expectations or following instructions, but they failed to point to any final incident or provide any details. The claimant's statement to the commission provided that she did not, or that she did everything that was asked of her, and that she not only, and that she prior, excuse me, and that she had no prior warnings. Additionally, the employer gave the claimant a raise shortly before cutting her hours and allegedly discharging her for performance issues. Therefore, the employer did not meet its burden of showing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Deemed the employer's appeal to the commission timely and modify the AT. Claimant did not have good cause for AT2. Claimant had good cause for AT1, reverse AT1, no misconduct, chargeback. In the alternative, we should grant the claimant's petition to reopen from AT2, as the evidence suggests that she missed the hearing due to meeting or dealing with her mother's medical issues at the time of the hearing, and have the case resubmitted for merits testimony. The claimant had good cause for missing AT2. Resubmit.
Deem CA appeal timely. Claim established good cause for AT2 and AT1. Resubmit.
All right, I think we've got a majority vote. Just want to clarify. Commissioner Esparza, please let me know if I got this right. Your alternate vote was good cause on both cases, and resubmit on the merits.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And is that your vote as well, Commissioner Trevino? Good cause on both cases and resubmit on the merits? Both hearings, rather?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, that was your vote as well?
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you.
All right.
Case number 3621983, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision should be affirmed. I agree that the employer did not have good cause for failing to appear at the AT1 hearing, since the employer missed the hearing because the hearing representative misread the hearing notice. Regarding the job separation, while the employer alleged that the claimant was discharged for arriving late to work, the claimant provided credible firsthand testimony that he had never been warned regarding tardiness prior to the final incident, and that he could not provide notice that he was going to be late because he was driving to work and was unable to send a text message. The employer provided no evidence that the claimant knew or should have known that he could have been discharged for one instance of tardiness without prior warning. Therefore, the employer has failed to meet its burden of showing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT. Employer did not establish good cause for AT1. No misconduct, chargeback.
We should modify the AT decision. First, I don't dispute the good cause finding. Concerning the merits, less than a week after receiving a final warning, the claimant was tardy without prior notice to the employer. He admitted his policy violation at the hearing and in fact-finding statements he provided TWC. Since the claimant should have been aware that his job was in jeopardy, he was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Accordingly, we should modify the AT decision. The employer did not have good cause for its non-appearance. Misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Employer did not establish good cause for AT1. Misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Case number 3637726, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant was fired for dishonesty regarding a project she was assigned to complete. Claimant allegedly lost the project documents and stated she had put in a ticket to the IT department to retrieve the documents. However, the claimant admitted in her testimony that she had no proof that the IT person she was working with helped her with the document retrieval. Meanwhile, the employer provided testimony which established that there were no IT tickets issued to the claimant for document recovery. And since the AT was in the best position to gauge the credibility of the parties, its conclusion that the claimant did not provide sufficient evidence to refute the employer's claim is supportable. We should therefore affirm the AT decision of misconduct reimbursing employer not billed.
The AT decision is not correct. The claimant was discharged for allegedly making false statements to her employer about a work project. The employer only provided hearsay testimony regarding the final incident, and the claimant provided credible sworn firsthand testimony consistently denying the employer's allegations that she lost project documents. Therefore, the employer did not meet its burden of proof in showing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Misconduct reimbursing employer not billed.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3643885, Commissioner Esparza.
The commission should rehear this case. The employer representative registered and was available for the AT hearing. However, technical difficulties with the phone system resulted in the employer getting disconnected. Although the hearing officer attempted to reestablish the connection, they were unable to connect with the employer to take testimony about the job separation. Since testimony from the employer is critical to understanding the nature of the job separation, the commission should rehear this case to question the parties about the final incident. Rehear.
The AT decision is not correct. The employer alleged that the claimant was discharged for allegedly failing to follow its procedures correctly for unloading heavy equipment. The claimant provided credible firsthand testimony denying the employer's allegations that he failed to follow the company's proper procedures regarding the final incident. The employer failed to provide any firsthand testimony or direct evidence to support their allegations. Therefore, the employer has failed to meet its burden of proof in establishing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case.
Case number 3663281, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not correct. The claimant was hired to work fully remote. After nearly a year on the job, the employer changed the hiring agreement, requiring the claimant to work several days in the office per week. The claimant tried to keep working this job, but the employer kept making changes to the in-office work requirement every few months, until the point where the claimant could no longer continue working the job due to not having childcare to accommodate the continuous changing in the schedule requirements. Since the employer kept making substantial changes to the hiring agreement, the claimant had good cause connected with the work to resign. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback.
We should affirm the AT decision. The claimant was dissatisfied with her work schedule due to issues related to her childcare needs. By quitting without first providing the employer a reasonable opportunity to remedy her concerns, the claimant quit without work-connected good cause. Accordingly, we should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3675302, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not correct. The claimant was approved to take a 2-week leave of absence to address a family matter. Shortly thereafter, the claimant's circumstances with her family changed, and she informed the employer that she was able to return to work 3 days later. However, the employer notified the claimant that they had already replaced her position and had no further work available for her. Therefore, the employer initiated the job separation by replacing the claimant while she was on approved leave. And the claimant's discharge was for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, no overpayment.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant clearly stated in a fact-finding statement that she quit because she was going to take another job that failed to materialize. The employer testified that it had no agreement with the claimant to come and go. As such, the claimant quit for personal reasons and without work-connected good cause. We should therefore affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, overpayment.
Voluntary leaving, overpayment.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir. And that was the last unemployment insurance case pulled for additional discussion on docket 50. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 50.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 50.
I second the motion, except for those cases which I am dissenting, as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 50.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected in UI short form dissent list for docket 50.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take a short recess.
Yeah. Ramsey's in South Texas. Yeah.
Did they? I didn't have that thought. You know, it's really good facility. It's place in Alice right off the highway. I mean, there's a real good place in Raymondville. No, I can't get it. I'll take my file. All right, this is agenda item 9, recertifications of community rehabilitation programs to participate in purchasing from people with disabilities program.
Right. Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Cerna. I'm Kelvin Moore with the VR Division. This morning, we have for your consideration and possible approval of 11 CRPs applying for recertification to participate in the Purchasing from People with Disabilities program. All CRPs are paying minimum wage or higher. The CRPs and their location are as follows: Southeast Vocational Alliance, Houston; Aldersgate Enrichment Center, Brownwood; South Texas Housing Community Development Corporation, San Antonio; Goodwill Industries of Dallas; Goodwill North Central Texas, Fort Worth; Goodwill Industries of South Texas and Corpus Christi; Growing New Generation, Fort Worth; Junction 505 in Bryan; Link Labor and Construction in Houston; Daniel Pest Control in Austin; and Wood Creek Outreach Rehabilitation Development in Schulenburg. Staff recommends the recertification of these 11 CRPs presented. Are there any discussion or further questions?
Comments or questions?
None here.
Yeah, real quick, do you have the information on how many? So we got 11 that recertified, but how many attempted?
Say it again, please.
How many did we only have 11
Mhm.
requests for recertification? Was there any that didn't make the cut?
Yeah, there was 2 that didn't make the cut.
Okay.
But we're in the process of getting all their information in. They were late on getting the information in, so we're getting the information in, and they'll be there on the next round of recertification.
Okay, so it's more like an administrative.
Yes, just a small administrative.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. No more questions.
Sure.
Motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve recertification of the following community rehabilitation programs for participation in the Purchasing from People with Disabilities program as recommended today by staff. Southeast Vocational Alliance, Aldersgate Enrichment Center, South Texas Housing and Community Development Corporation, Incorporated; Goodwill Industries of Dallas, Incorporated; Goodwill North Central Texas; Goodwill Industries of South Texas; Growing New Generations, Junction 505, and Link Labor and Construction.
A second.
Oh, I still have Daniel Pest Control and Wood Creek Outreach Rehabilitation Development.
Second after that.
It's been moved and seconded. Motion carries. Thank you.
Mhm.
So agenda item 10, fiscal year 2025 Child Care Expansion Initiative Startup Program.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Reagan Miller with the Child Care Division. This morning, we're bringing forward recommendations for the Child Care Expansion Initiative, which was included in the fiscal year 2025 statewide initiatives budget that you approved on April 16th. The discussion paper lays out our recommendations for child care provider eligibility, the selection process, funding parameters, and the supporting program activities. It's very similar to the prior stimulus-funded expansion initiative, but on a much smaller scale, as we're now funding this with regular CCDF. We estimate that we'll be able to support about 6,000 new child care slots. This expansion initiative will be carried out by an entity that TWC selects through a competitive procurement process. The details recommendations are
None here.
If we get to approve this, what's the timeline to get the funds out?
well, we'll have to go through the procurement process.
Oh, okay.
So it will be many months as we have to select an entity, and then entity has to get up and running and release the grant award opportunity for those new expansion programs.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the fiscal year 2025 Child Care Expansion Initiative Startup Program parameters and requirements as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
I'll second.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
So agenda item 11, submission of the apprenticeship related instruction cost study for fiscal years 2022 and 2023.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, Carrie Ballast, Workforce Development Division. Per Texas Education Code, Chapter 133, at least annually, the Commission shall prepare and submit to the Texas Workforce Investment Council a report that includes an apprenticeship-related instruction cost study for the most recent state fiscal year. At this time, staff request approval of the apprenticeship-related instruction cost study for fiscal years 2022 through 2023. This concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
Carrie, thank you for this very informative and detailed report. I want to thank you and your team for compiling all this data. Your hard work is crucial to understanding and supporting the vital role of apprenticeship programs in our state's economy. So thank you.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the fiscal years 2022-2023 apprenticeship-related instruction cost study for submission to the Texas Workforce Investment Council as recommended today by staff.
I'll second.
It's been moved second, motion carried.
Thank you.
So agenda item 12, the adoption of the 2024 industry-based certification advisory council's inventory of industry recognized credentials.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, and Mr. Serna. For the record, Loden and I with the Workforce Development Division. Texas Labor Code 312 requires an industry-based certification advisory council to develop an inventory of industry-recognized credentials that may be earned by public high school students through career and technical education or CTE programs. Today, staff requests adoption of the council's 2024 inventory. Upon adoption, the inventory will be provided to the Texas Education Agency and to each school district and public institution of higher education that offers a CTE program to public high school students. This concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Can you actually read this chart?
Did I, what, I'm sorry?
Can you actually read this chart?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's
with the
lengthy.
type that you gave it to me, and this is 4-point type.
Yeah,
When we send it over to the other entities, is it going to be,
digital version can be zoomed in. Yes, and
Okay.
enlarged. Absolutely.
is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we adopt the 2024 Industry-Based Certification Advisory Council's inventory of industry recognized credentials.
Can we amend that motion to include higher bond point for the chairman?
Well, I can actually read it because my optometrist makes a lot of money off of my glasses, but I was worried about other people who don't have my optometrist.
Well, they gave me like a big sheet of paper, like
Did they?
about that big.
I mean,
I second the motion as set forth by Commissioner Trevino.
it's been moved and seconded, and well, we got to vote.
Backed up.
There's like workforce division gentleman has gotten a bad habit of walking away before it's over.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't.
I get that point.
I wish that were true. I guess we're gonna speed along some procurements or something. We're in a hurry to get that done. Wrong division, got it. It's been moved and seconded, and the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So agenda item 13, adoption of amendments to 40 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 817, child labor, and the adoption of the child labor penalty assessment matrix.
Good morning, Chair Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, Mr. Serna. For the record, I'm Chuck Ross, Director of TWC's Division of Fraud Deterrence and Compliance Monitoring. For your consideration today are the approval of 2 items. The first is the final rule amendments to Chapter 817 Texas Labor Code and approval of the child labor penalty matrix. During the 88th legislative session, regular session, the legislature passed and the governor signed House Bill 2459. This bill restructured Texas Labor Code Chapter 51, the child labor law, and provided for commission review of child labor appeal tribunal orders. The proposed revisions to Chapter 817 are being brought forth to effectuate the changes from House Bill 2459 and to help clarify our own child labor rules. These revisions include codifying the agency's procedures and making some technical updates. The proposed rules were posted for public comment in the Texas Register on October 4th, 2024. One comment was received and responded to by staff. However, no changes were made to the proposed rules based upon that comment. Staff also conducted a 4-year rule review of Chapter 817 in accordance with the Texas Government Code and determined that the initial reasons for adopting the chapter still exist and the chapter still needs to exist in its current format. Staff recommends adopting amendments to Chapter 817. Should the commission adopt these rules, staff requests the ability to make minor non-substantive changes to the document in order to comply with publication requirements of the Texas Register and the Office of the Secretary of State. Secondly, these rules require the commission to adopt a penalty matrix to be used when determining administrative penalties under Chapter 51 of the Texas Labor Code. Staff is seeking adoption of the penalty matrix as provided in your briefing materials and which was discussed during prior briefings. As a result, today, staff is seeking 2 votes for this item. The first vote is for the commission to vote regarding the adoption of the final amendments to Chapter 817 and to direct staff to take appropriate action to effectuate that vote. Secondly, staff is seeking approval of the child labor penalty matrix. This concludes my remarks. I'm available to answer any questions that you all may have.
Questions or comments?
None here.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the adoption of amendments to 40 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 817, Child Labor, and the Child Labor Penalty Assessment Matrix as recommended today by staff.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Motion carries. This is agenda item 14, adoption of new 40 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 844, prohibited coronavirus vaccine mandates by private employers.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna, Westrom and General Counsel. Before you today for your consideration is adoption of new Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 844, prohibited coronavirus vaccine mandates by private employer. As you will recall, on September 17th, 2024, the Commission approved proposed rules creating TWC's Chapter 844 rules to implement Senate Bill 7 as passed during the 88th Texas Legislature. The proposed rules prohibit private employers from imposing a COVID-19 vaccine mandate on employees, contractors, and applicants, provide the injunctive relief or a penalty against employers who impose such a mandate, require TWC to adopt rules as necessary to implement and enforce Senate Bill 7, including the creation of complaint procedures and appeals, and require the TWC to consult with the Department of State Health Services as appropriate. The proposed rules were published in the October 4th issue of the Texas Register for a 30-day public comment period. Public comments were received. Staff has reviewed and responded to those comments, and no changes have been made to the proposed rules. Staff recommends adopting new Chapter 844, and should the Commission adopt these rules, staff recommends the ability to make minor non-substantive changes in order to comply with Texas Register requirements. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
Nope.
Before we go to the motion, Mr. Cerna, there were 3 things I noted in this that truthfully I didn't think needed to be in the rule, but I think bear some discussion relative to the rule. The first is there are penalties in state law, existing statute, for filing a false complaint. I ask that we do research on what those are and that we then make everyone aware of what those potential penalties are for filing a false complaint, and simply just place those either on our website or on the application for this. The second is, and I toyed along all year really with whether or not this should be in the rule, but I don't think it should be. But I would like for us to establish a baseline for the time frame in which we're going to conduct investigations, in the sense that I don't think that they should drag out forever. 60 days seems reasonable to me. Some people have suggested 90 days. I mean, I think those are all reasonable suggestions. I think the reason you don't put that in rule is because you don't want to hamstring yourself with sort of unnecessary or untenable administrative types of actions. But I think if we can establish a best practice at the agency, I think the public's better served by knowing what those timeframes will happen under. And then the third thing was, and again, I studied on this for some time relative to the rule, but I would hope we would give some thought and perhaps even articulate our approach to, in the eventuality or the necessity of an injunction from the Attorney General. I think that everyone, complainants, employers, the public, I think people would probably benefit from us articulating what our thresholds will be or what our guidelines will be in terms of seeking some type of AG injunction, which is permissible under the statute. Again, I think staff, frankly, probably made the right decision not to try to include that process in the rules, because that can change over time and it'll be a case by case basis.
Right.
But to the extent that we can articulate that, I think we strengthen the agency's position and our ability to carry out this particular statute and this particular rule package. Are there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Chairman, I move to approve the adoption of new 40 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 844, prohibited coronavirus vaccine mandates by private employers, as recommended today by staff.
I second.
It's been moved, seconded. The vote's unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks.
Agenda item 15 has been postponed to a future meeting. Agenda item 16 is board nominations.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioner Trevino and Esparza, and Mr. Sarna. For the record, Dawn Cronin, Workforce Development Division. Today, for your consideration, we have Workforce Board nominations for the Workforce Solutions North Central Texas, Northeast Texas, and Southeast Texas. Staff recommends approval of the presented nominees, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Have you ever done board nominations before?
Mhm.
Yes.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a motion?
Yeah. Chairman, I move we approve the local workforce development board member nominees presented today for the following: Workforce Solutions, North Central Texas, Northeast Texas, and Southeast Texas.
I second.
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, I was looking for a technicality, but at this point, I'm just so delighted a workforce division staff member stayed at the podium through the end of the vote. I'm not going to exercise on that.
She learns well.
It's been moved and seconded. The vote's unanimous and the motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just pausing for fast.
No, we can't get her to leave. Thanks,
It's a
Dawn.
pleasant place. We make this a pleasant environment for everybody who's at that podium. Oh my goodness, there's nothing under 17 or 18. I do not see a legislative report lurking on the back. Is there an executive director's report today?
Just very quickly, I wanted to acknowledge Jennifer Hart and her staff, Amy Lundrum, and the staff in communications and media, and then all the other staff that volunteered to be moderators at the work sessions and during the larger super sessions and the keynotes, walking around microphones and everything. I think they did an outstanding job at helping our last week's conference be a success. They worked very hard, long hours, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge their hard work and thank them for it. Other than that, that's all I had.
Well, I'll certainly pile on with that. We had a good meeting last week.
Yep, I agree too. And I'll add Lowell in there too. I saw him running around there making sure.
Yeah. He did a great job.
I did talk to Lowell every day of the week, and he was way less stressed on Friday than he was on Tuesday. Whatever that means. I don't know exactly what that means. Is there any other order of business to come before the commission?
None here.
Nope. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move to adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. That vote's unanimous and we are adjourned.